Over the years, I had hundreds of messages from strangers asking me to make a film about mental health. But for me, there was a temptation to shy away from it, mainly because it's so difficult to get the tone and context right. I mean, there are so many things to take into consideration. Firstly, can somebody give genuine consent if they aren't always of completely sound mind? This was my main concern when I was talking to my commissioner, executive producer, and director about the possibility of filming in a mental health unit in 2019. I had reservations. The execs and I went over all the possible drawbacks again and again, and we always came back to the conclusion that there was hopefully more to gain than lose, that the benefits outweighed the problems that could occur. Not enough people understand or accept the things that can go wrong with our mental health, and if people don't know what's going on, then they can't help others or themselves. There are a lot of misconceptions around it, that people with mental health problems are violent or dangerous, for instance, or they're weird or they're self-indulgent and could get better if they wanted to. This creates stigma and leads to discrimination, which just makes the situation worse. When you actually listen to people talk about their mental health problems, you realise that the stereotypes are way off. We all have a rough time at some point in our lives, and for some of us, poor mental health will be part of that. Whose life is perfect? Who doesn't have hurdles to overcome? Every young person I've met contends with anxiety, pressure, and the sense of feeling overwhelmed to a certain extent. Obviously, some people's experiences are way more severe than others, but mental health affects us all, and even more so now in the aftermath of a pandemic. Still, if we're going to film in a mental health unit, we knew we had to try to do it in the most responsible way possible. We wanted to make sure that our contributors felt safe and secure in the knowledge that we were there for the right reasons. And the best way to do that was to give them something called rolling consent, which is quite unusual when you're making a film. So typically, the person you're filming will give verbal consent, and then you get written consent and you take your footage off to the edit and make the film that you want to make. But with this film, we understood that there were deeper complexities. Offering rolling consent meant we would film if the contributors were happy to be filmed, but if any point they wanted to change their mind, they could. In one case, we had extensive conversations on film with one young woman, with her mother and with the doctors who were treating her, and then she had a change of heart. "I don't want to be a part of it anymore," she said, so we took her out of the film. In a situation like that, of course you're gutted because you think this is so powerful. I wanted to stay in the documentary, but above all else, you have to prioritise the people you're filming and respect their wishes. It was also important to negotiate the trust of the doctors and the healthcare staff who were contributing to the film. I'm so thankful they took a chance on letting us in. We said we promise we won't take advantage of this situation, but they couldn't know what would happen when the footage was put together in the edit. After we left the facility and the production team got involved in making the final show, so credit to the staff for saying, actually, we believe you and we need to get this out there. In late 2019, we filmed for several weeks inside a mental health unit at Springfield Hospital in South London. It was a real eye-opener for me, a really steep learning curve, and it resulted in a documentary for BBC Three entitled On the Psych Ward. And over the course of making it, I met several youngsters who had been admitted to the unit with serious problems like anxiety, psychosis, depression, anorexia, and personality disorder. Some of them were at crisis point and had been detained or sectioned under the Mental Health Act. As they opened up about how hard it is to live with a serious mental health condition and how devastating the impact is on them and their families, I realised that some of them had had moments when it could have gone either way, when they felt suicidal and overwhelmed and thought, what's the point? You couldn't fail to see how crucial our mental health services were in helping those youngsters find their way towards recovery. When you're filming in a situation like this, the biggest fear is that you don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to rock the boat, get it wrong, cause distress, or be made an example of. But as long as you're really transparent about the fact that you're not claiming for 1 second to be an expert, then I think it's worth doing. This was about us as ordinary individuals trying to understand and learn what these people were going through.